The mansion was too quiet for such a big house. Zuri stood at the gate, her small bag pressed tightly against her chest. She looked up at the tall building in front of her. White walls, shiny windows, black cars. She had never seen anything like it. The guard at the gate looked her up and down and shook his head. "You're the new maid?" he asked in Korean. Zuri nodded slowly. She didn't speak much Korean yet, but she understood that much. She gave a shy smile. "Yes. My name is Zuri. I came from Africa." The guard didn't smile back. "Follow me." He walked fast, not waiting for her. Zuri hurried behind, her shoes making soft sounds on the marble floor. Inside, everything was shining. There were big chandeliers, long white curtains, and golden chairs. Everything smelled clean, too clean. A group of Korean housekeepers passed by. They looked at her, whispered something in Korean, then laughed. Zuri lowered her eyes. She was used to this. Back home, she had worked in houses before. But she had never felt this alone. No one welcomed her. No one smiled. No one showed her where to go. Except one person. A small boy peeked from behind a wall near the stairs. He had big round eyes and short black hair. He didn't say anything. He just stared at her. Zuri smiled gently. "Hello, little one." He didn't reply. She waved. He didn't wave back. But he didn't run either. Later that day, Zuri was given a small room near the kitchen. It had a tiny bed, one pillow, and no window. But she didn't complain. She was thankful. At least she had a place to sleep. She changed into the gray maid's uniform and started working. She swept the floors. She washed the dishes. She polished the tables until her back hurt. Every time she passed the stairs, she saw the little boy. Watching her. Always quiet. Always alone. She tried again. "What's your name?" Still no answer. One of the Korean nannies passed by and rolled her eyes. "That's Jiho. The CEO's son. Don't talk to him. He won't talk to you." Zuri looked surprised. "Why not?" The nanny shrugged. "He stopped talking after his mother died. 2 years ago." Zuri's heart broke. The boy looked so small. So lonely. That night, as Zuri washed the last plate, she felt a presence behind her. She turned. It was Jiho. Holding a small toy car. Still silent. She dried her hands quickly. "Do you want some warm water?" she asked softly. He shook his head. Then, slowly, he placed the toy car on the counter and slid it toward her. Zuri blinked. Was this a gift? "Thank you," she whispered. "That's very kind." Jiho looked at her for a few more seconds, then walked away. Zuri stared at the toy, smiling softly. She didn't know it yet, but from that moment, something had started. The next day, Zuri began to notice things. Jiho only ate when she was in the room. He followed her quietly when she cleaned. And once, when she hummed a song from home, he sat down on the floor and closed his eyes, like he was remembering something soft. One afternoon, she saw him drawing in the garden. She walked past and peeked. He had drawn a woman in a maid uniform. Her. Tears welled up in Zuri's eyes. But she didn't say a word. She just bent down and whispered. "Thank you for seeing me." The boy looked at her. Still no words. But his eyes were warm now. Not sad. But inside the mansion, not everyone was happy. The head housekeeper noticed the boy getting close to Zuri. She frowned. The staff whispered more. They didn't like how the African girl was being noticed. And far upstairs, in a big office with tall windows, CEO Jang watched the security camera footage on his tablet. He saw his son following the maid. He saw them smiling. And he didn't like it. Not one bit. "Keep her in the kitchen," he told the housekeeper coldly. "She's not here to play." The morning sun was bright over the city of Seoul, but inside the mansion, tension hung heavy in the air. Zuri woke up early, just like always. She wore her gray uniform, tied her hair neatly, and went straight to the kitchen to start her chores. She moved quietly, humming softly, careful not to disturb anyone. She hadn't seen Jiho yet. Usually, he peeked at her from the stairs or left a toy car on the counter. But today, nothing. She felt uneasy. By 9 a.m., the mansion was awake. The maids were cleaning, the butlers were busy, and the nanny was getting Jiho ready for his school tutor. Zuri peeked into the living room and saw the little boy curled up on the couch. Something felt wrong. His skin looked pale. His eyes dull. He wasn't playing. He wasn't even watching her like before. Zuri frowned. "Is Jiho okay?" she asked one of the other maids. The maid scoffed. "He's just a quiet child. Don't get involved." But Zuri couldn't ignore it. She looked at Jiho again. His small hand was shaking. The nanny came in with a glass of milk. "Drink up, Jiho," she said. He didn't move. Zuri stepped closer. "Maybe I can help." The nanny raised her hand sharply. "You." Back to the kitchen. Zuri stepped back quietly. Her heart was tight. But she couldn't take her eyes off him. 30 minutes later, Zuri was wiping the counter when she heard a loud thud. Then a scream. "Jiho!" She dropped the towel and rushed out. The living room was in chaos. The boy lay on the floor, completely still. His eyes were rolled back, and his lips were slightly blue. The nanny was shaking, screaming in Korean. None of the staff knew what to do. Zuri didn't even think. She ran forward and dropped to her knees beside the boy. "He's not breathing," someone cried. Zuri placed 2 fingers gently on his neck. "No pulse." "Call an ambulance," she shouted. But nobody moved. They just stared. Shocked. Frozen. Zuri leaned down and tilted Jiho's head. She began chest compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4. Tears streamed down her face. "Stay with me, little one. Please. Don't go." She checked again. Weak, but there was something. She breathed into his mouth. Again. And again. His small chest lifted. Then dropped. Finally, he coughed. The boy opened his eyes slowly. Zuri gasped. "Thank you, God." The rest of the staff stood behind, mouths open in disbelief. The ambulance arrived 10 minutes later. Jiho was rushed out in a stretcher, but his tiny hand reached out and gripped Zuri's wrist tightly. He didn't want to let go. The medics tried to separate them. "He's asking for the maid," one said in Korean. "Let her ride with us," another agreed. Zuri sat beside him in the ambulance, holding his hand tightly the whole way. He didn't speak, but his eyes never left hers. Back at the mansion, the entire house was silent. In his office upstairs, CEO Jang stood in front of the security monitor. He had watched everything. Every step Zuri took. Every word she said. Every breath she gave his son. And something inside him twisted. This poor African maid had done what his entire trained staff couldn't. She had saved his only child. But he said nothing. Just stared at the screen, and clenched his jaw. At the hospital, the doctors ran tests. They said Jiho's condition was serious but stable. He has a rare heart problem, the doctor explained. Stress makes it worse. He needs love, peace, and safety. Zuri sat by the bed the whole day. She held Jiho's hand and told him soft stories from home. She even hummed the song he liked. The same one she had once sung while washing dishes. Slowly, Jiho spoke. Zuri. Her heart stopped. That was the first word he had said in 2 years. Tears ran down her cheeks. Yes, Jiho. I'm here. Outside the room, nurses and doctors whispered. The maid had reached the boy no one else could. And at the hospital entrance, CEO Zhang stood in silence, watching from behind a glass wall. He had come to see his son. But now, he was watching the maid. Who are you? He whispered to himself. Zuri sat by the hospital bed like a statue. Jiho was sleeping peacefully now, his little fingers wrapped around her own. Machines beeped softly beside him. The sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting a golden glow across his fragile face. She hadn't eaten. She hadn't moved. She just stayed. Her back ached. Her eyes were tired. But her heart was calm. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she mattered. Outside the room, footsteps echoed. Sharp. Calculated. The hallway fell silent as CEO Zhang Miho walked in, surrounded by suited men and 2 bodyguards. The hospital staff bowed nervously. Where's my son? He asked, his voice cold but composed. Room 304, sir. He's stable. He nodded without saying thank you and strode forward. The moment he reached the door, he paused. Through the small glass window, he saw her. The African girl in the gray maid uniform, sitting beside his only son, holding his hand like she was family. He clenched his jaw. Get her out, he said to his assistant. The man hesitated. But, sir, he spoke her name. She saved his life. She's a maid, Zhang cut in, voice sharp. Not his nurse. Not his family. I don't care what he said. The assistant bowed his head. Zhang stepped in. Zuri looked up slowly. She didn't recognize the man at first. Tall. Clean-shaven. Cold eyes like winter ice. He wore a black designer suit, his watch probably worth more than her whole life. But she could feel it. Power. And pain. Are you his father? She asked softly. He didn't respond. He stared at her, then at Jiho. Then back at her again. Get up. Zuri blinked. Excuse me? Stand. Now. She stood quickly, confused, her hands still holding Jiho's. But Jiho's tiny grip tightened, he didn't want her to let go. Zhang's eyes darkened. You've done enough, he said, pulling up the chair and sitting beside the bed. Zuri stepped back, her heart pounding. Jiho's lips moved weakly. Ri. The CEO stiffened. Zuri smiled gently. I'm here, Jiho. I'm still close. Zhang looked up sharply. What did you do to my son? He demanded. I didn't do anything wrong, she replied quietly. He collapsed. I gave him CPR. I stayed with him. That's all. He stared into her eyes for a long moment. Why? Zuri blinked. Why, what? Why would a maid risk everything for someone who isn't her child? Zuri's voice trembled. Because no child deserves to die when there's still a chance to save them. Silence. Her answer pierced something in him. He didn't show it, but he felt it. Deep down. The last time someone had said that to him, it was his wife. Before she died. The door opened. Jiho's pediatric specialist stepped in. Ah, Mr. Zhang. Good you're here. We reviewed the scans. Your son has stress-induced arrhythmia. Emotional trauma worsens it. He needs calm. Familiar care. And surprisingly, he responded better to the maid than to medical staff. Zuri looked down. Jiang stayed silent. The doctor continued. May I suggest that she be allowed to stay with him, at least until we confirm stability? The CEO stood slowly. Out, he said again, eyes on Zuri. Sir, I just. You are not a therapist. You are not family. You're a cleaner. Go clean something. Zuri's lips trembled. But she nodded. Yes, sir. She turned to leave, but Jiho whimpered. Zuri. That one word made the room still. Zuri froze. The CEO didn't turn around. But he felt it. That pull. That sting of pride versus pain. Zuri gently placed a stuffed toy beside Jiho, then whispered. I'll be close. Always. And she walked out. Back in the hallway, Zuri leaned against the wall and broke down quietly. She had only done what she hoped someone would do for her. Love without asking. Care without pride. But now, she was being punished for kindness. A nurse walked up to her. You're the African maid, right? Zuri wiped her tears. The nurse smiled gently. You did something no one else could. Word is spreading. You didn't just save the boy. She leaned in. You touched the untouchable. Zuri looked up. Confused. Tired. But slowly, something inside her sparked. Hope. The hospital room was silent. The heart monitor beeped softly beside Jiho's small body. He lay there peacefully, almost like he was asleep. The doctor said he had suffered a mild seizure caused by stress and extreme fatigue, worsened by his rare condition. But he was stable now. Zuri sat by his bedside, holding his tiny hand. She hadn't let go since they got there. Across the room, CEO Jiang stood stiffly by the window, arms folded, eyes burning with confusion and guilt. His expensive coat was still damp from the rain, but he didn't seem to care. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about business. He was thinking about his son. The doctor's words kept replaying in his head. He has been emotionally neglected, sir. The boy is deeply attached to the maid. She's the only one who seems to give him comfort. It stung. Was he really that distant? Was he truly the reason Jiho was fading? He turned slightly when he heard the boy murmur something. Zuri leaned in. Jiho? Baby, what is it? Jiho blinked slowly and looked up at her with his pale eyes. You're still here, he whispered weakly. I'll always be here, Zuri said softly, brushing his hair from his forehead. He smiled faintly. You smell like mangoes. Zuri chuckled, trying to hold back tears. That's because I was cutting some before you scared me today. Don't go, Jiho whispered. I don't want to go home. I want to stay with you forever. The words hit CEO Jiang like a punch to the chest. Then came the sentence that changed everything. Appa, Jiho turned his head weakly toward his father. Can Zuri be my mama? Zuri gasped. CEO Jiang blinked, stunned. Jiho, what did you say? I want her to be my mama, Jiho repeated. She hugs me. She sings to me. She's warm. Mama would have been like that. Silence. Tears welled in Zuri's eyes. Jiho had never spoken about his real mother. Not even once. The billionaire took a step forward, unsure what to say. He looked at Zuri, the woman he barely acknowledged before, and truly saw her for the first time. She wasn't just a maid. She was the reason his son was alive. She was the only light in his son's dim little world. I'm sorry, he finally said, his voice raw. Zuri. I didn't know. I've been blind. Zuri looked up at him, shocked by the humility in his voice. I just wanted to take care of him, she whispered. He needed someone. CEO Jiang slowly walked to the edge of the bed and sat beside his son. Jiho reached out and held both their hands, his father's in one, Zuri's in the other. It was the first time the three of them had ever been that close. Zuri looked away, feeling it was too much. I should leave, let you two be. No, Jiho said, his voice suddenly firm. Stay. Zuri looked at CEO Jang, waiting for his reaction. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something no one expected. He bowed. A full, deep bow. Please don't go, he said softly. He needs you, and maybe I do too. Zuri's breath caught in her throat. She couldn't believe it. From ignored maid to needed mother figure, just like that. Later that night, Zuri stayed in the hospital, curled beside Jiho's bed while he slept. CEO Jang sat silently on the visitor's couch, watching them with a storm of emotions swirling in his chest. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. He finally whispered, "Thank you, Zuri." She didn't answer. But her gentle hand resting on Jiho's chest said everything.
Hello besties, in this powerful story we learned that kindness is never wasted. The heart you heal today might be the one that saves you tomorrow. This story teaches us that true love, compassion, and presence matter more than money or status. Zuri, a simple African maid, gave something priceless, genuine care, and through her quiet kindness, she healed a broken child and softened a powerful man's heart. In the end, it wasn't power that saved the boy, it was love. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly like, subscribe, and share.